I'm about to put on another trade on TLT stock, and I believe TLT stock has probably a lot of room to fall. But I'm doing a short term trade based on two pieces of economic data coming out next week. We got inflation data on Tuesday and then retail sales on Thursday. Stock market itself looks like it wants to breach 5,000 on the S&P 500 and just keep going. The fact is there's still a lot of value left in a lot of those stocks versus alternative investments like the US 10-year Treasury yield. But what if inflation is a little hotter than expected? I don't expect any downside surprises with inflation, nor do I expect downside moves with retail sales. The surprise would be to the upside. If nothing more, I expect status quo with some fairly robust numbers with both inflation and retail sales. This would mean that if I put a trade on for TLT stock, very likely it'll be profitable. I did a similar trade last week going into non-farm payrolls. I expect a similar result. Let's jump in and I'll show you what I'm looking at. Here's a look at TLT stock. This is, of course, is the 20 plus Treasury bond ETF. Inverse to yield. Last week, the move higher in TLT stock, which with bond yields moving lower, I felt was overdone, and it was an easy trade for me as far as I was concerned, looking at what I was looking at. Sure enough, it played out. What I didn't expect, of course, was Sunday night's interview with 60 Minutes. I don't follow those kinds of things on a regular basis, and of course, Jerome Powell pushed TLT stock from 96 down to 94. What is next with TLT stock for me? We're probably going to see about 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Monday, prior to the inflation report on Tuesday. And as I mentioned, I don't expect that there will be a downside surprise that all of a sudden inflation is racing downward. Look at employment, look at retail sales, look at GDP. All these numbers are coming in pretty hot. We have a strong economy. Unemployment rate is 3.66%. This is well below what is considered full employment, which used to be 5%. Then we started negotiating with ourselves within our psyche saying, well, maybe 4.5% is full employment. Well, we're at 3.66%. This is a robust economy. So I don't see inflation surprising and being weak with month-over-month growth. So looking at TLT stock, very likely what I'm going to probably end up doing, I'm going to be looking at about $3 out, just like I did before. I'll sell calls. If the price is about where it is, I'm probably going to sell 97 calls on TLT stock, and I'll probably buy the 92 puts with a short-term date. Now, my trades, when I put these videos up there, I saw a comment come in. I don't trade long-term trends. I trade economic releases tomorrow. So I'm often in and out within one day. And while the bigger trend for bond yields has been to go higher and then turn back around, I've been playing little trades within there. I'm probably going to put this trade on either Friday morning or Monday morning before the move on next week. I'll probably put a 2-week trade on so I have enough theta there, a little bit of time in my options trades. But I'll be in and out in about a day. So make sure you encompass that when you're thinking about how I'm interpreting what's going on there, because we probably don't have the same time frame. And I'm in and out, I make my money, and I leave really fast. I'm an options trader. If you haven't learned that with options trading, you will eventually. Well, I'll just say that. Here is some of the things I'm looking at. This is core inflation versus personal expenditures. Now, personal incomes is where I start my analysis. Government expenditures are fairly flatlined. They don't really push the economy when government expenditures are consistent, unless we have, say, a stimulus package, which we just got one post-COVID via Biden. This is really what's kind of propelling the economy forward. So personal incomes is that first initial thing that I'm looking at. Personal incomes drives personal expenditures. Looking at this chart, you're looking at inflation versus expenditures. There's a bit of a delay. Take a quick look here, like January 2003 right there. You can see how personal expenditures kind of bottomed out a little bit, and it took a little bit of time before inflation bottomed out. And if you kind of take a look at this chart, you'll see that there is a bit of a delay in the response from inflation. And if you logically think that through, that makes sense that consumers will either increase or decrease their expenditures, draining supplies on shelves or letting supplies on shelves get backlogged. It takes a moment before companies either need to hurry up and start adding more to the shelves or start slashing prices, which would reduce inflation. Now look all the way over to the right. Personal expenditures starting to move back upward. So even though we're still seeing downward moves in core inflation, there's a bit of a delay. We might not see any kind of real moves downward in inflation. That's something that you really kind of have to encompass, but the move back upward in personal expenditures, to me, is important. Thursday, retail sales. If you look at the core rate there, or the headline number, the green, you can see with expenditures, headline inflation, retail sales, headline retail sales moving back upwards. There's a strong correlation between the two. Of course, retail sales is nothing more than expenditures more defined. But you can see that that's starting to pop up a little bit higher. So if expenditures continue to move higher, which they have been, what will happen with retail sales on Thursday, but also inflation on Tuesday? My expectation, expenditures moving upward, inflation won't move downward too much if it does move down somewhat. Given that, if I step in on TLT stock and I sell those calls and buy those puts, I'll do a ratio, selling 2 to 1, buying 1 put. Sell 2 calls, buy 1 put. It's a ratio. I'll get a credit off of that because the distance from the at the money is going to be about the same. Then, if nothing more, if TLT stock remains flatline, I'll take my profits as time erodes and go to the bar. Otherwise, if we see a hot number in inflation, if we see a move higher than expected, the market's going to put all this together. Look at employment, look at GDP, look at expenditures, look what will happen on retail sales. Look at all that. The Federal Reserve will have to likely raise interest rates. And all of a sudden, my puts on TLT stock are going to get a little juicy. Those calls will erode. So this is how I'm playing TLT stock moving in. And I'm going to be quick about it. If I put this trade on Monday, I could be out Tuesday afternoon if I see a big enough move. I don't spend much time in this because as an options trader, time is money, and boy, have I learned that lesson over 30 plus years of doing this. Nonetheless, breaking down these kinds of things is how I do my videos and my analysis, and I make my trades. If this is what you're looking for, make sure to hit that like and follow button, and we'll see you in the next video. We'll see you on Tuesday and Thursday morning.